Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I am proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So it's funny, in the video I just made yesterday, I was talking about how I see these things and I don't, and it's one of these things like, is it evidence or am I just making it fit my story, right? So it's a constant theme of what I have to deal with, but overwhelmingly I'm always like, looking at it saying, no, this does fit the story. This is actually there, right? That's just constantly what happens. So stuff like, I find evidence, I'm not even looking for it, right? And stuff happens. This is how much like immersed into the story, how it's become and stuff. And it's one of the things, because like in YouTube, I'm always searching like Michael Jackson, Smokey Robinson stuff. So they give me not request, it's they show me things, but it's not like I requested. I'm trying to think of that, so I always get mixed up. I like when I stumble through words and stuff, because I want people to know that I'm not educated. I'm really proud that I have, technically I have like a 9th grade education and stuff that I really never even tried in school and shit, right? like a funny story. When I was in 9th grade, we had to take these tests that were, you had to pass these tests to be able to graduate. You had to take like a English test, a math test, basic skills or whatever, right? And you had to be able to you had to pass that test and get like a 12th grade level, to something like, they said, that's what they were saying when I was in 9th grade. So you would take those tests every year. And so like the math was kind of the only one I kind of like doing math and stuff. So the math test, I tried on it. And so in the 9th grade, I know I scored over 12th grade. And, I passed that one really easily and stuff, right? But the other stuff I never cared about, right? So one of the tests, it was like, I'll just say it was English. I don't remember what it was. But, it's like you fill in the dots. You circle in the little dot thing or whatever, right? So like one of those tests. So I just went down and I just circled dots. I just colored in dots. I didn't try at all, right? I just filled in the dots and shit, right? And I got like a 9th grade level, like reading the level, just doing it that way and stuff, right? That was one of those funny things. It's like, shit, because I was in 9th grade. And so with me not even trying, I was still able to accomplish, on a test result, I was able to accomplish a 9th grade reading level. I didn't even try it. I swear to God, I just filled in the dots and I didn't try it all. That was one of those funny things. School's just funny and shit, right? So it's like life forms you, but through all your life experiences and stuff, it forms who you are. And so I'm happy with the person I am, right? And the person I am never tried in school. And because of that, okay, I can speak okay. I'm all right. And but I'll stumble through word. Like I said, I was looking for that word. See, I'm still trying to, like, if YouTube, sometimes the word just doesn't come to me and shit, right? And I think part of that is because of my poor education and shit, right? So whatever. So moving on to this. But so, so what happened is, like I said, like in YouTube, they show me things, right? And then what happens is, in eBay, I'm searching a lot of stuff. In eBay, I'm searching a lot of Michael Jackson memorabilia and stuff like that. So then they show me stuff too. They're like, hey, maybe you'd like this, right? They're like, well, you looked at that. Maybe you'd like to look at this and shit, right? All kinds of stuff like that. It's kind of, see, stuff just comes in my head because I was just watching, the other day I was watching Back to the Future Part 2. And when he goes in to buy the book, See, the names of the stuff, it's like, what's the name of the book? The book's a super famous name. I totally know the name of that book, of the sports betting book almanac, but there's a name of it, the actual name of that book, which I can't think of it right now. But when he goes in to buy that sports betting almanac, he buys it, and the lady says, oh, well, if you like that kind of stuff, maybe you'd like this. And she shows him a dustbuster, right? And see, that's what I'm saying. That's how it works. Like, that's that sell thing. Well, if you like that, maybe you'd like this, right? So, like in eBay, because I'm always, I'm looking at Michael Jackson stuff and I buy Michael Jackson stuff. So then that's the way they think. They're like, well, if you like that, maybe you'd like this and shit, right? So this is what I'm saying. It's like, I do so much of this stuff now that I don't even have to search for stuff. They just start showing it to me. And stuff just like, they just throw me stuff. I'm not even trying to look for evidence. I'm not even trying to look for shit. And then there it is. They just show it to me. And it's like, That stuff happens all the time, right? So I was and like Rockwell, the name Rockwell, because to me it's like it's a funny thing because my dad worked at Rockwell in Downey, California, which is one of the companies that back in the days they were integral in helping building the space shuttle. That's part of the thing and stuff. My grandpa had worked at Rockwell and stuff, and so Rockwell was big in Downey. And then I actually saw the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, one time at Rockwell. So there was a thing that our school or the cities or whatever, they were choosing classes from each city around the LA area. They choose like one class and shit, right? From this district and whatever. And so then they put all the kids on a bus from that class and we all went over to Rockwell. So there'd be a whole bunch of kids there because the Queen of England was going over to Rockwell to see there was a new flight simulator thing, like state-of-the-art flight simulator thing. That's what the story of when I remember is why she was going there. And so, yeah, because it's a weird place. It's an industrial type of building place, Rockwell. It's a big manufacturing place, right? And but the Queen of England was there. She was going to visit Rockwell. That's the Rockwell where my grandpa worked. Same place and shit, right? Because I remember my grandma. She was like real excited. She's like, "Oh, you get to go see the Queen of England." She was real excited about it. To me, I was just like, okay, whatever and shit, right? But so then the Queen of England came out of the building and I saw a bunch of us kids were there and stuff, right? And then so I seen her come up and walk by and shit. So I got to be like that close to the Queen of England and shit at Rockwell in Downey, California. See what I'm saying? There's just stuff like that. It's like little things, they just spark all these memories and it's just life and stuff. And so that's why I'm always trying to convey that my story and my investigation. I also like interject real life, and I want to just overwhelmingly try to show people that's like, look at, this is not a Hollywood production and shit. Come on, I'm not some educated person with a doctorate, and I'm not a reporter like working for the people and doing investigations. And because people read, it's the same thing with like the Dan Reed. The Dan Reed had some background in movie making and stuff or whatever. He has some kind of background in that stuff. So Dan Reed, he wasn't just living his life and he didn't make a discovery about Michael Jackson and say, oh my God, I got this and so I have to fight for this now and do it. No, Dan Reed had some kind of skill as a documentary filmmaker, something like that. And he was just looking for a story that could garner attention to his work of what he was doing. And he came upon the Wade Robson and James Safechuck story, and then he said, okay, well, this is a story that can be told and it can get attention. And he's like, I have the abilities to make a documentary, so I'll make that. So it's like, see, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's you. Now, the Michael Jackson community can expose his mistakes because he's not the real person, and so he makes mistakes. And so the Michael Jackson community can expose that. But what you guys are not exposing is that all of those other people who write all the books, or even the people who work with Michael Jackson as the engineers and stuff like that, it's the same thing. They work with him because he's got the big name. It doesn't mean they know who he is. It doesn't mean that just because they were there at that time and had that experience doesn't mean they know anything about who Michael Jackson is, right? So that's why I try and show so much is like, just because those people have credits attached to their name, or maybe they actually had some personal experience with Michael, it doesn't mean they know anything about Michael Jackson. Because a perfect one is like the Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando was asking Michael Jackson, what the fuck's wrong with you? He was like, why? What is wrong? There's a thing where Brando and Michael were having a conversation because Brando's child was really good friends with Michael Jackson. Miko Brando. Miko Brando is actually one of the people that when Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire on the Pepsi commercial, one of the first people there to put Michael Jackson out was Miko Brando. Like, Miko Brando is a big deal. Okay, but that's the son of Marlon Brando. So then Michael Jackson started getting the first pedophile allegations, and the police investigated into, like, Miko Brando and was talking to Marlon Brando. And because of that, then Marlon Brando went and asked Michael, what's going on here? What is this? And so Marlon Brando asked Michael, well, what do you do for sex? And he's asking, and Michael just, hee, Brando. He said like that, hee, Brando. And then he's like, because then Brando's like looking at him saying, there's something wrong here, right? And you're talking about somebody that is close to Michael Jackson. he's like a confidant, somebody that Marlon Brando would be somebody that Michael Jackson would highly respect. You're talking about one of the real Hollywood, like the old golden age, the golden era of Hollywood, these real Hollywood movie star people. Marlon Brando is one of those. And he's got it all. He was really good looking when he was young. He made really good movie. He's got iconic roles and shit, and all the way up to where he's like Godfather and shit, you know? Brando is a big deal. Marlon Brando is a big deal. There's a lot of shit with him, right? And so Michael would respect all that stuff, and but still, Marlon Brando was looking at Michael with that same thing, saying, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is it? What's going on? Well, what do you do for sex? Why are they're accusing you of being a pedophile? What is going on? And Michael just laughed and giggled. He couldn't answer any of the questions, right? That's what I'm saying about like the fans. It's like you fans think you know and understand Michael Jackson, when Marlon Brando, who really knew Michael Jackson, who could actually have deep conversations with him, and he didn't understand whatever this was, this other thing that was going on with Michael. He couldn't understand it. What is this that's going on with you? And like I said, nobody could understand it, because the one most provable fact that we all thought we knew about Michael Jackson is that we thought that he was a Jackson. That was like the thing that you would never even question that. We all thought we knew that. And that was the thing that was wrong. And that's the torment of what that caused to Michael Jackson, and that the fans can't appreciate that. They have no understanding of who Michael Jackson is. They don't want to know who Michael Jackson is, because they live in a fake world. They're all fake fans. They live in a fake world. They don't deal with any forms of reality. So let's get into this. So then I went into eBay, right? And then this came up, right? So obviously I know the song that I always feel like somebody's watching me, right? So obviously I know the song, especially because I lived in 84 and shit, right? And this is how it was with Michael Jackson 84, is that anything with Michael Jackson's name attached to it, Michael Jackson fans were interested, right? It was like, that was so cool to have anything else. We wanted it all, right? Anything that was Michael Jackson, it was super cool and shit, right? So when this song came out, this song was a big hit. And, you know, it was like, yeah, that's Michael, because it's definitely Michael's voice, and it's singing over and over. He's singing this stuff, right? So if anybody who was back then, I would think that most Michael Jackson fans would know this song, but if you lived back then, you definitely knew this song, right? This was a big deal, right? So this album came up. So instantly I look at it and I'm like, okay, so I know what it is instantly, right? But now, because I've been doing the Michael Jackson investigation, now the eyes, right? So then I'm like, oh wait, so on this album, right, the Somebody's Watching Me album, so then I saw the eyes and I'm like, oh look, I'm looking, oh, it's got Sanpaku, which is the Betty Davis eyes thing, right? So then I'm like looking at that and I'm like, no, it doesn't look like Michael. And I'm like, it doesn't really look like Diana either. I'm not sure exactly. So what happens is I started searching to find if I wanted to see if I could find out whose eyes that were. So I was looking at, so this is like this is what I talk about when I do my investigation and stuff, right? I like to show you how my investigation takes place and how my thinking process happens and how it all gets developed that way. So I saw the eyes. And I'm like, what? Okay, all right. What's this? What's this? So then I'm looking into Rockwell. I was looking at who he was, and I'm going to show you what I found there. And so this is the thing of what I'm saying is like, now when I went looking for this, I was searching for the eyes to try and find out who the eyes are on this, right? Now, this is what I talk about with my story. When I went looking for this, what was the chances I was going to find a direct connection to Smokey Robinson? Right? Just looking at, and I'll like just ask all you fans that are out there, okay? Because you all think that you know so much and shit, right? And so like I ask you, by looking at this, what's the direct connection to Smokey Robinson? Okay, that's just a simple question. It's like, you see, and I like trivia questions, and it's one of those things that, and this is a good trivia question, right? And it's relatable, everything, and it's real. This is no joke. This is going to be a serious direct connection to Smokey Robinson, and it happens real quick, right? But so that's what I'm saying. From all of you people out there, can you tell me what the connection is when I'm looking at this? Can you tell me what I'm going to find? Like, see, that's the thing is I don't know. I didn't know I was going to find this. I didn't know. But this is what I keep telling you is that these things keep happening, and as soon as I look into it a little bit, next thing you know, bam, here's Smokey. This is directly connected. There's a direct connection here. And that's what I think why Michael actually did this song. You know, because the Rockwell is Berry Gordy's son. You know, and that's the thing that I would think you people know, but maybe a lot of you people don't know. But yeah, Rockwell is Berry Gordy's son. Okay, so there's a connection there. But Michael, this is also, it was produced on Motown. This record got released on Motown, but this is like around 1984 or so. So Michael's not on Motown at that time, you know, so he had to go, he did a song, and I would assume that Michael Jackson probably didn't get paid for this. It's like, maybe there could have been, but this is the kind of thing that he could have easily just went in there, because all he had to do is go in there and sing one time on the recording. I always feel like somebody's watching me. And then you can tell that the one recording of it is exactly the same recording that's used to do the whole song. They would edit it and put it in, edit, insert, you know. So it's not like Michael sat there while he played the whole song and kept singing that verse. No, he sang it one time, and then they just cut it and edit it as they needed it for the song and shit, right? It's just cut into the song. That's the way it is and shit, right? So all he had to do was go in there, you know, so it'd take him like less than a minute. That's really like, it really could take Michael Jackson less than a minute to do that, right? So did he charge him and get any, you know, compensation for that? Probably not. Because there's a cool little story too that with Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen's guitar riff that's on Beat It. You would think for sure, Eddie Van Halen, that was big. He must have got paid for that. But no, Eddie Van Halen says no. He says, Quincy Jones asked me to do that. And it was a funny story, if you've never heard that thing, is that Eddie Van Halen says that he had a deal with the Van Halen group that none of them would perform outside of Van Halen. None of them would do any kind of recording outside of that, right? And then Eddie Van Halen says that Quincy Jones calls him up one day and asks him if he'd come and do a little recording for like the Beat It, right? And Eddie Van Halen says the rest of the band was like out of town and stuff, right? This is before cell phones and shit, right? You couldn't just call people back in the day, right? It was, if they were away, it wasn't so easy to contact them. So Eddie Van Halen says he tried to call the people in the band to ask him if it was okay for him to do that. He said, but nobody was around, so he just had to make a choice, right? And he had to make a decision. And you know, so Quincy Jones asked him for a favor, so he went over and did that. And then he said he never got paid for that. You know, because that's the thing. It's like, man, Eddie Van Halen's guitar riff on Beat It, he didn't get paid at all for that. So there's a lot of that stuff that takes place in this music business, right? And these are good stories. I just like those really cool stories that are just real and shit, right? And so, okay, so getting into this, so then the eyes thing, like I said, I was looking for the eyes and shit. I'm like, okay, what's this eyes? I was trying to find out whose eyes they were. And then, I'll show you this one here. So then, you know, seeing another picture of Rockwell, it's like, yeah, that is Rockwell's eyes. It's his eyes on the cover. It's his eyes, okay? So then I'm like, okay, those are Rockwell's eyes. I'm pretty sure that those to me look like the same eyes. Here, I'll pull up another version of this. There we go. Okay, so there's another version of that, and that's his eyes and stuff. So to me, it looks like Rockwell, that's his eyes, okay? But, so now, when that album comes out, now he's got the Sanpaku Eyes, right? And then see the way that the eyes are like framed on the album, and it's like, okay, did Michael... I know in the Billie Jean, when he says the eyes were like mine, he frames the eyes. I think there's like a frame in the video of the eyes like that, you know? But it's like, how much of that was actually being done? It's like one of these things like the Michael talks where he uses all inspiration from all artists that are out there. He uses all inspiration to create the best thing of what he can do. So it's like one of these things too, with that highlighting of the eyes like that. I wonder how much that actually inspired Michael, seeing that too, to highlight his eyes and focus on that in other albums and stuff, because you see that in a lot of Michael Jackson stuff, like that kind of exact photo of the eyes, right? That's a common thing that happens. And then the wording of the song, because here's the other thing is that, see, Rockwell is Berry Gordy's child. Okay, and this is the kind of thing where, like, when I talk about the Michael Jackson childhood stuff, that I say it's not about him having to play in the band and having to take some beatings by Joe and that ruined his childhood. And I'm saying, no, that does not justify. I don't believe it. because of the benefits of what Michael Jackson would have gained by doing that stuff. By the time he's 10 years old, he wouldn't remember that stuff. Under 10, I mean, he would remember stuff, but it would not be like the overwhelming dominant factor in his life, because by the time you're 20, you're not worried about the stuff like when you're under 10 and stuff. But that thing definitely carried all through Michael Jackson's 20s and his whole life, that this childhood thing was some kind of issue. And I keep saying that it's not the issue of what the people think it is. It's something else. But so like this kind of thing is like, this is Berry Gordy's child. And so Michael Jackson, then we know Michael Jackson did a favor for this guy, right? And made this recording for his album. And if Michael's not on the album, then it's really nothing. This is what makes it good and shit, right? The guy really can't sing, Rockwell. He's not a good singer and shit. It's an okay little song and shit, but I would say he's probably not really a great songwriter either and shit, right? Without Michael Jackson being on the record, nobody ever would have heard of this. Even with him being Berry Gordy's son, he still would never have garnered any kind of fame and attention without Michael being on there, right? But so those words, I always feel like somebody's watching me, right? That it makes me think about with Michael, what he's going through, all the things of what he's dealing with, and not just the media, this other stuff of who's watching him. And when he's looking into his eyes, it's like he's seeing somebody else's eyes. And I think that this represents it too with the Sanpaku, because like the thing with the Diana and Michael having the same eyes and stuff, there's just a bigger, I think there's a larger context to those words, why those words were attractive to Michael, right? But so the other part of what I'm trying to say is that this kid was a child. He was a kid of Berry Gordy. So when Michael would have went to Motown, Michael would have been introduced to all these children of Berry Gordy, and so these other kids that were around, there would have been other people and other friends that he got to meet in these experiences, which he never could have had unless Joe works them hard and gets them to Motown and shit, right? Unless they do that, they don't ever get these experiences. And that's why I say that's like, it can't be that Michael is so sad that he didn't get to play baseball. It's like, well, dude, yeah, but you got to hang out with Berry Gordy's children. Wasn't that a good thing? Wasn't that a good experience? And we know it must have had some form of a good experience, because here's Michael on his album, right? There had to be something there. Okay, now, but so here's the thing. When I went looking for Rockwell and stuff, right? The thing I found, like I said, here's that direct connection to Smokey Robinson, which was like, whoa. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so here's where we're going to go. We're going to answer that question. Like when I was saying, what's the direct connection through Rockwell to Smokey Robinson? What's the direct connection? I was asking all the Michael Jackson fans, right? And nobody, I wouldn't expect anybody to know this, right? I don't expect anybody to know this, because why would you really know this, right? So here, so this is the Rockwell, this is his Wikipedia, right? Okay, so we go here to early life. Kennedy William Gordy, okay, that's the Rockwell guy. This is the guy we're talking about. Is the son of Motown founder and CEO Berry Gordy and Margaret Norton. His father named him Kennedy William after John F. Kennedy, because I think he's born in 64, so that's right after Kennedy gets killed in 63, I believe. Okay, so he names him Kennedy. His name is Kennedy William. So he's named after John F. Kennedy and William Smokey Robinson, because that's Smokey Robinson's first name is William. So Rockwell's name is Kennedy William Gordy. Okay? The William is for Smokey. This kid is named after Smokey. He's got Smokey Robinson's name in his name. Okay, Michael doesn't have, like, is not named after his own father, Smokey Robinson. So this is the kind of thing that's like, after you're Michael Jackson and you find out, because it's basically when he goes to Motown that he finds out the truth, right? And so that's all that time when he's hanging out at Motown that he would have been experiencing Berry Gordy's children. So then after, think about the reality that you're Michael Jackson, you find out that your dad's actually Smokey Robinson, but you're named Jackson and shit, right? You're Michael Jackson and shit, which I do say the Michael is Michael the Miracle, is that's how he gets his name, but that's not like a direct name, not be like being named after your father directly and shit, right? So think about like Michael when you're a kid and you find out that Smokey's your dad, and then Michael encounters the Rockwell guy, right? And then the Rockwell guy tells him what his name is. Oh, my name is Kennedy William Gordy, right? And then Michael, I think it's very safe to say that Michael could have very easily, Kennedy could have been like Kennedy. How'd you get that name, or something, you know? Because the name Kennedy's kind of odd, you know. Or you might have even asked him, are you named after like John F. Kennedy? You know, Michael would have known that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, plus Robert F. Kennedy too. The Kennedy thing would have been a big deal and stuff. If you went through the 60s and shit, the Kennedys would have been a big deal, right? So the name Kennedy, so I think it's very likely that the name there could have come up in conversation. And he says, yeah, my name's Kennedy William Gordy. So and he would have said, yeah, my Kennedy. Imagine him saying this to Michael. Saying, yeah, Kennedy, I'm named after John Kennedy, and William is, because he would have been like, yeah, Smokey's name is William Smokey Robinson, and he'd be like, that's where the William comes from, because Smokey named his kids after Berry Gordy. Smokey Robinson's first two kids that he had with Claudette, he named the son Barry and the daughter Tamla, you know, so Smokey Robinson did that too. He named his kids after Berry Gordy, so Berry Gordy, like, returns the favor type of thing. You'd have to check the actual dates of the kids to see which one happened first and whatever. But Berry Gordy did it also with Smokey. He honored Smokey by putting Smokey's name in the name of one of his children, right? So that's what I'm saying. The album that Michael Jackson sang on of the Rockwell is actually, his name is Kennedy William, and the William is Smokey. He's named after Smokey Robinson, right? So that would have been a thing for Michael. Like I said, that's the kind of thing that when you're actually Michael Jackson, see, this is the kind of thing is like, I'm actually trying to explain Michael Jackson's actual real life encounters and how his life would have developed, actual things that would have actually happened, and how does that influence Michael, right? See, I'm doing this whole other, everybody else is just like, this is the story we know about Michael, and we're just going to keep saying the same story that we've always been told and stuff. It's like, you're not explaining anything of who he is, you're just saying the same stupid shit that all the stupid people say. Right? Those are the fake fans, and they don't want to hear. And then the crazy thing is that they actually fight against my story. That I'm the only one out here actually expressing Michael Jackson's feelings. I'm the only actual voice for Michael Jackson out here, and because I'm doing that, the fans hate me and they want to shut me down, and they tell people don't listen to me. How could you dare call yourself a Michael Jackson fan and not encourage this investigation of what I'm doing? You people are disgusting. Like I said, that's why they're fake fans. There's no doubt about it. All they do is steal from Michael Jackson. They do nothing for Michael Jackson. They bring no insightful information, nothing. Absolutely nothing. They bring nothing to the table. Everything what they do is crap, and I easily debunk their shit, and then they never deal with my stuff. They never ever. It's like I challenge any of them. You could put out any video you want, and I will destroy it. And they'll never do, and it's constantly, they never come back and deal with my stuff. Never. They can't ever do it. They won't ever do it because they're fake fans and they're losers and all that shit, right? So I just wanted to show you this, how it's like, okay, like I said, I didn't put that there, right? So when I was looking at Rockwell, I didn't think I was going to find what was the chance I was going to find a connection to Smokey Robinson from seeing that Rockwell album cover? What was the chance? What was the chance that I was going to find a connection to Smokey Robinson through that? And that's one of those things. It's like, I'm doing a Michael Jackson investigation. Why does me looking into that Rockwell album, why does it instantly turn into, here's a direct connection to Smokey Robinson? A direct freaking connection. Right? How does this stuff happen? Because the story's true. And that's the kind of things that reason why Michael participated on that, because it has a direct connection to Smokey. There's stuff like that that's there. This is the kind of stuff that Michael would have been interested in. That's why he did it. Right? So, okay, I just wanted to show you this new connection, how this stuff happens, how it constantly happens without me even looking at it, and the stuff is there. It's like, there's no way I put that there. This is not me making something up and making a connection that's not there. I had no idea that this was going to be there. And instantly, as soon as you look into it, bam, here's Smokey's name. The kid's name, his middle name is Smokey. What would that have done to Michael when Michael is actually the child of Smokey, but he doesn't have his name? But here's this kid who does have Smokey's name. You know, that's the kind of weird shit that Michael had to deal with, that nobody is fucking understanding of how Michael became the person of what he was, the emotional issue and the actual mental stress and the pains of what he actually had to deal with. But nobody cares about that.